already broke it. Went for a test drive, and it was going well until it wasn't. I was just cruising down the road, and all of a sudden I heard a loud noise that sounded like it was coming from the valve train. Thankfully, I acted quick, and I was able to shut the engine off and coast into the nearest parking lot before it did any serious damage. I pulled the valve cover and saw that one of these rocker studs, the rocker arm bolts to, had backed out. What happened was the push rod was then able to bounce around like this. It ended up landing at one point on this retainer clip for the plunger on the hydraulic lifter. The clip popped out, plunger then blew apart, and the rocker was just kind of flopping around. Thankfully though, I caught it in time that it didn't cause too much damage. Here's the little retainer clip that got all bent up out of shape, and then the rocker arm has a couple little nicks and bruises, but the trunnion bearing is still good. I'll just be able to clean this up, make sure that there's no loose metal chunks or anything like that. But I was able to take that lifter, and since all the pieces thankfully stayed in the lifter valley of the motor, they didn't go into the bottom of the motor and get circulated in the oil, which would have been very bad, obviously. The actual lifter itself wasn't all scored up, and the plunger was all working properly once I was able to take I took an old lifter that I originally pulled out of the engine when I tore it down. I was able to take the little retaining clip off of this one, put it in the new one, and basically rebuild it. And thankfully it's still functioning the way it should. So what could have been a very expensive mistake, I definitely lucked out and dodged a bullet on that one. Now, I think what happened was one of two things happened. When I assembled this valve train, I had to loosen all these studs to adjust the guide plates for the push rods to make sure that the rocker arm trunnion bearing was sitting centered on the stem of the valve. In that process, it's possible that I either forgot to tighten this one down all the way and it eventually backed out, or it's also possible I was supposed to put Loctite on threads of the studs that go into the cylinder heads. This was best case scenario for this issue. I mean, even the top of the valve stem retainers are fine. There's a little bit of nick here and there. No major metal shavings that came off. My plan now is to go through the whole valve train again, remove all the studs, put blue Loctite on them, readjust the guide plates, re-flash the valves, which I was planning on doing anyway after a couple of heat cycles in the engine. Throw it all back together and hope that it's fixed. All right, the motor's back together for the most part. While I have the car jacked up, I am upgrading the cooling system a little bit. Bought a brand new SVE aluminum 3-core radiator. And with the high compression and the bigger cubic inches, the stock starter does turn the motor over, but it was pretty labored, especially when we were first trying to get the motor started in general and had a smaller battery. Since I put a bigger battery in it, it has helped tremendously, and it doesn't really struggle at all. But I know that the stock starter is being taxed quite a bit, And I've also had nothing but a lot of troubles with the reman starters from local auto parts stores. So I'm upgrading to a high torque mini starter by the same company that makes the radiator I just bought. That's supposed to have a little more ass behind it to help turn the motor over a little easier. So we shouldn't have any problems in that department. I got the starter out and I wanted to show a quick side-by-side. Call it a high torque mini starter. There's definitely a huge difference between the two in terms of size. The issues that I have with these stock starters, I've had these bearings blow out before, and this has actually gotten locked against my flywheel. And I thought that I had locked my motor up at one point, when really this Bendix just got stuck out and lodged against the flywheel. And thankfully it wasn't actually the motor itself. It helps if you read the directions right and wire it correctly. Well, it runs. After I got the car all back together, I had an issue getting it. All right, it's getting a lot because it's actually starting to pour rain right now. I had a little hiccup when I first put the motor back together. The intake gaskets that I was using were just a regular Felpro that fit a small block Ford, but I had an issue of them not actually lining up with the ports correctly because the ports were smaller. They weren't port matched to the bigger intake and heads. So when I tried to fire up the motor last, I had such a big vacuum leak in the middle cylinders and cylinder number 4 that it was causing a misfire and a super lean condition. So we pulled the intake back off, looked on TrickFlow's website, and was able to find that they actually recommend a Felpro 1262 intake gasket. I got the right gaskets, got it in the car, and the motor fired right up, and I was able to time it, tune it. It runs fantastic. Lauren and I were able to do our first successful test drive with the new motor, not actually come back on a trailer. So that was a huge win, a huge step in this build. It was a quick trip, only a couple miles. It drove fantastic. The twin disc RST McLeod clutch is a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. I figured it was going to be a heavier clutch, but I'm actually very happy with how the drivability was with that. The only thing I'd like to fix is I need to adjust the clutch cable because the clutch was grabbing a little too high for my liking. And I'm also having a little bit of a cooling issue. I have a 160 thermostat in here, but the car, with it being a bigger motor and only having a clutch fan on there, it runs about 200, 210 cruising around. So it's a little warmer than I really want. So I think I'm going to upgrade to either a bigger clutch fan or an electric fan setup. Other than those two little things, I'm super happy with how it drove, how it cruised. We're going to rack up some miles on this thing, get it broken in properly, and then we'll bring some content of really beating the hell out of this thing and seeing what it's capable of and kind of testing my abilities to build an engine. That will be in future content, so if you guys are interested in that, stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.